All right, looks like we are all set up, just making sure all of our technical session, all of our audio and video is showing here on your end. Perfect. I have the green light on my end. If you hear a little baby cry in the background, that's Catalina. She's saying hello. That is compliments of our work from home. All right, perfect. Okay, well, let's go ahead and just jump right in and get started. Welcome to the Buy on Google webinar. We are very excited that you guys are here with us today. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to hop in and learn more about Buy on Google. So we are excited to just give you an overview of how to get the most out of your Buy on Google experience. And as your host, I am Mariah, and I am currently a strategic partner manager here at Google. My team is responsible for helping merchants drive success at scale across the Buy on Google team.
Hi, I'm Cherie. My team assists with merchant performance and helping drive merchant success across Buy on Google.
And then also we have Gonzalo here. He's going to be in the chat, so say hi to Gonzalo as well. And also for you, we'd love to get to know you guys and hear from you as well. So please feel free to make any comments in the chat, ask any questions, or just say hello. You can ping your name and where you're from. And hello from all around. I'm actually currently in Texas, so hello from Texas. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So for today's agenda, I just want to run through the structure of the session. So thank you for everyone who asked your questions in the Dory. And while our original structure was to introduce the new product features and then answer your questions at the end, it actually made more sense for us to incorporate the content directly into the presentation. So in other words, we'll be answering your questions as we'll go through this content. And what we have planned for you today is just giving you an overview of the new Buy on Google and some of the new changes that we have in play, taking you through the user experience and a demo of what that currently looks like today. If you haven't migrated, we'll give you instructions for how to migrate over to the new experience, and then we'll take you through a deep dive of the new features and optimization best practices as well. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So in regards to the, as I mentioned before, in terms of answering your questions, we'll be answering them throughout the presentation. So some of these are some of the questions you guys had in relation to the overall Buy on Google experience. So questions regarding the new commission percentage, some best practices around using Buy on Google with Google Ads, and then also understanding where these listings are actually showing. Are they showing on the shopping tab? We'll take you through an overview of the different services that you're seen on. And then also we'll be using, I will give you, as I mentioned before, instructions of how to migrate over to this new experience and that easiest transition for you. So let's get started. So we're really excited to be building an open ecosystem for digital commerce. And over the past few months, we've taken significant steps to help retailers, brands, and also marketplaces reach more users and help them find the best options when searching online. And this is especially important because we see in the US that e-commerce penetration has grown the same rate in the last few months that we have observed over the last 10 years. So there's a lot of change happening. And ultimately for Google, we want to make sure that Google is the place for users to start their shopping journeys, regardless if they complete their journey on Google or off of Google on your website. And for merchants, we want to enable more merchants and more types of merchants onto our platform to grow a more diverse ecosystem. And with COVID, what we've seen is that customers are actually shifting their behaviors dramatically. So it's actually accelerated the shift away from physical stores to online shopping or to this digital shopping by roughly 5 years. So that's what's been happening over these last couple of months. And we just want to make sure that you have the tools, provide you with the tools to be able to get yourself in front of these merchants or in front of these customers. And so now Sherry will take us through some of these key programs on Google.
Awesome. We're here to help merchants get discovered with an open and flexible platform that allows you to choose which channel suits your needs. You can now list on Google for free, and your listings will appear across Google services. You can also choose to advertise those listings to drive even more traffic to your website. And finally, Where we'll spend most of our time today is helping merchants sell across Google now with a 0% sales commission. The nice thing is that all of these channels are complementary and work really well together. One does not exclude or lessen the participation in the other. To note, free listings and ads take users directly to your website and to your storefront to complete transactions. While Buy on Google enables purchasing to be completed directly on Google, which is so great because it unlocks a world of opportunity for millions of sellers who don't have a website or have websites that are not optimized for shopping and advertising. Personally, I'm really excited about the opportunity to enable e-commerce for a whole segment of sellers who might have struggled to sell online. Slide. With this new program, you may have some questions. So let's spend some time covering the key program details. Right now, this experience to sell and buy directly on Google is only available for the US, but we have plans to expand this into future markets. Selling directly on Google is designed to allow you to easily bring your existing business and capabilities. You don't have to pay a sales commission to Google, and you can use your existing customer service team and payment processors. Today, we support PayPal, and we'll continue to scale our support for more providers in the future. Selling directly on Google also comes with the Google Guarantee, which helps build confidence and trust with shoppers. When things don't go quite according to plan, shoppers can flag support contacts to Google, and our agents will contact merchants to understand why they were unable to respond or satisfy the shopper. Refunds by agents may be charged back to the merchant for scenarios like missing or wrong items or return issues. For the shopper, we're empowering them with helpful tools throughout their experience, and they'll have the option to buy from a seller or directly from Google through their journey. Let's take a look at the new user experience. Let's go through a quick overview of how this all looks together and how the user is shopping for items sold directly on Google. Here, we show various Google services where your products may show. Let's take a closer look at the user's journey. Imagine you're looking to replace your old hairdryer with something new. You've heard amazing things about the Dyson Airwrap and want to learn more about it, so you start your search on Google. Sorry about that, the video hasn't played. Perfect. Okay, great. We're catching up here.
Technical issues. There you go. There's your slide, Sheree.
So we're going to search for the Dyson Airwrap. You load a search page with a lot of information. However, you would like to learn more about the Airwrap, so you click on the Shopping tab. Now on the Shopping tab, you're presented with a lot of options. There are useful filters on the left to help you limit your choices. However, what you're searching for is right in the middle. We click on the item we're interested in to view the product detail page. From here, we can see highlights about the item, as well as a useful price history tool. This tool tracks historic pricing for an item, where the current price tracks in its history the ability to sign up for alerts when the item goes on sale. In addition, reviews for the items are available below and are aggregated across multiple retailers to help shoppers make an informed decision. Further down, you can also see other sellers selling the item on Buy on Google, on PLA, as well as locally. Continuing further down, we can see additional content about the Airwrap provided by the manufacturer, including detailed shots of what is included with the item and key product features. In addition, you can see a summary of the item specifications, other items sold by the manufacturer, and competing models available. Finally, there are some videos available from content creators highlighting how to use the hairdryer and why they love the hairdryer. With all of this information at our fingertips, a user can make an informed decision. Let's buy it. We will add the item to our cart and proceed to the cart to see what our subtotals for the item will be. We can see the price, the sales tax, and our shipping charges. Everything looks good, so let's buy it. On the checkout page, everything is simplified as I have used my credit card before with Google Wallet. Using my saved information, I'm able to complete checkout in one easy step. I can see that my item will be delivered on Thursday. Let's buy it. With an easy checkout and an enriched product detail page, I was able to research and buy my item all from one site, knowing I was going to get the best price and product available, enabling shoppers like me a quick and easy shopping experience. So let's talk about how to migrate. Existing merchants will be able to start migrating immediately to the new Buy on Google experience and have time to complete their integration. These are the following steps you'll need to take to complete in Merchant Center. First, you will link your PayPal account. If you do not have a PayPal account or use a different payment provider, you can either sign up for PayPal or you can wait until we support additional payment providers, which will start in 2020 and beyond. Next, you'll decide how to generate a return label. There are two options: Google Facilitated Returns, where you may link your accounts with your carriers, and Google will generate a label automatically on your behalf. Next is Merchant Managed Returns. You're responsible for providing return labels. Next is getting ready to handle your customer support directly. This is one of the main changes of Buy on Google. You will need to add customer service email address into Merchant Center and check a box acknowledging you're responsible for customer service. Finally, you'll accept the new 0% commission terms. And now I'll hand you off to Mariah to go through the new steps in detail.
All right, thank you, Sherry. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at some of these new features and just take a deep dive through what they are and how you can make sure that you're optimizing and using them correctly. So some of the questions we'll be answering here is in regards to customer service, how it works now. Will you need to set up automatic emails for Google Shopping, for Buy on Google? Also around some return questions as well. So hopefully we can be able to answer some of these questions in the next slides. So just at a very high level, what's new? Sherry mentioned a couple of these things, but we'll go ahead and dig a little bit deeper into each of them. So, of course, one of the things we're most excited about is this zero Google commission. So, for every merchant across every vertical, you will no longer pay a Google commission or Google Sellers commission. So that is 0% for everyone. As after you migrate onto the platforms, that's why it is important to migrate if you haven't already. And then the other thing to note, or one of the other big new things, is of course this payment provider. So right now we currently are integrated with PayPal. However, we are expanding to other providers in the future. I saw one of these questions in the chat come up about if we're going to be integrating with Shopify. Yes, that is one of the new ones that we'll be integrating with here shortly, as well as some additional ones that we're currently in the works with. And a thing to note about these payment providers is they will be handling all of the bank distributions, and also they'll be covering all of the everything around income taxes as well. Another new change is around customer service. So this is something that we heard in the past of the sellers or the merchants wanting to be able to manage this customer service. Well, now you do. Google will still provide all of those automatic emails. So in regards to giving the customer the confirmation that they have received their order and their orders have been delivered. But when we talk about customer service or talk about the merchant managing customer service, what this means is when a merchant, of course, when a customer has a question in regards to anything, return, cancellation, etc., your team will now be the ones who are answering those questions. And then the other thing is regards to Google Guarantee. So this is also a new concept, and it's simply just helping make sure that the customer has a great experience and that they're able to be satisfied with their process of buying on Google. And then we'll kind of go into detail about each of these topics. So first thing I wanted to mention is in regards to choosing how you'll manage your orders. So this is probably something that, as of right now, everyone who is in this webinar, or I'm assuming most people who are in this webinar, do currently have a Buy on Google account, and you've probably already chosen one of these methods of managing. So either you manage orders on Merchant Center or you manage with an API. But it's important to understand all of the different options that you have for managing orders. If you are currently managing orders in Merchant Center, what our team is currently doing is really just understanding how we can improve that process of both orders, returns, customer service, and make that a really great tool for you to be able to use. If you do have a high volume of orders that are coming in, then it may make sense for you to integrate with Orders API. And this is, of course, it helps you automatically ingest those orders and be able to make that process a little bit more seamless. The only issue there is, of course, just that the technical ask that it requires and making sure that that gets set up. And we, of course, understand that one of the things that we've been hearing from you is the desire to integrate with some of your existing platforms. And that is something that our team is currently working on, is figuring out how we can expand those integrations and partner with those existing platforms that you use currently. At the moment, as those are not fully built out yet, what I would recommend is reaching out to your third party and understanding what some of those best ways to integrate are. For example, if you are a Shopify user, one thing that you can do is choose an app within the Shopify App Store for order management specifically. One call out I do want to make sure that you're aware of here is understanding that if you do have the Shopify app to ingest your feeds, ingest your data, noting that actually doesn't cover order management. So making sure that you do have a plan for how you will manage orders going forward. So please just take a look at that and make sure that you have an understanding of how your team is doing that. The other thing is choosing how you'll manage returns. So as Cherie mentioned, there's two different options you have for managing returns. One is Google facilitated returns, and the other is merchant managed returns. And so I do want to just dive into these a little bit further, just so you fully understand what this means and how to get it set up. So first off, with Google facilitated returns, historically in the past, Google automatically provided that customer with the return label. However, now providing the customer the return label is going to be based off of one of these two methods. So one, you could either link your carrier platform here within Merchant Center. And currently the two platforms that you can link with are UPS and FedEx. Of course, we know USPS is a very popular one and highly desired ones that merchants use as well. And that one is coming soon. That integration is coming soon. So keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, for Google facilitated returns, you would link your account, link your platform. And then from here, if a customer requests a return, that return label will automatically be sent to them. However, if you choose merchant managed returns, please note that with this route, it's your team's responsibility to upload that return label for the customer so that they can send the return to your processing site. And note that they do have to do that within 2 business days of receiving that return request. So keep that in mind in choosing either of these options. And as I mentioned before, note that USPS integration is coming soon. And then also here within this one last thing to mention on this slide, with merchant managed returns, you do have, once they generate the return label, which generating the return label, you'll do that within whatever platform or process you currently use, whether you use ShipHero or ShipStation, et cetera. You would upload the return label here, and then that will get sent off to that customer. So setting up returns policy. So with this new platform, one thing that you do want to double check is what you currently have within your return policy setup. So I do recommend that you go back into your account and understand how you currently have this set up. So you have the option to set a return label or return window, and also setting up customer return fees. If you don't charge the customer for returns, then you simply just don't check any of these boxes, and the customer will not be charged for the customer will not be charged for that return cost or that cost of returns. However, if you do have a remorse reason for why the customer would pay for those returns, then you'll want to make sure you check these boxes here and then add that default cost of return shipping. So that's one thing to understand, is just making sure that you have created a default return policy set up. The other thing to note is you can also create additional return policies. So let's say, for example, this default cost is $3. However, you have some larger items that typically cost whatever they do. You can create an additional return policy where you can create labels for certain products that cost different amounts. And that way you can be able to indicate that for Google that there's various return costs depending on the product. The other cool thing is you're able to set up additional rule types like refund without return. So let's say, for example, you don't require the customer to return the product in order to receive a refund. That is something you can set up here. It's a new feature, so definitely check it out if it's something that applies to your products. Another thing is special handling of returns. So in this case, you're able to set up another policy here related to just special cases where they don't fit this default return policy or default return cost. One important note that I strongly want to highlight or asterisk is opting into receiving your orders and returns notifications. So because in the past Google managed the returns, it wasn't as essential that you receive like these return notifications because Google automatically sent out the return labels. However, now that you are responsible for managing returns, it's very important that you opt in to the correct order notifications or the correct notifications in general. So go into your settings, make sure that you have the toggle marked for orders and for returns. And then also another thing to check here while you're in the settings is understanding that making sure that the correct people in your team have access to order management or have access to these correct notifications. If they don't have access to order management, then they won't be able to enter that orders and returns page within Merchant Center. So just double check your returns, make sure that you have everything set up correctly. One of the reasons why this is so important is I was recently working with a merchant who I asked him how the return process was going, and they said, oh, we haven't received any returns. And when in fact, it was simply the fact that they weren't receiving emails that they had returns, and they didn't realize that those returns were in their Merchant Center. So definitely go in there and just verify that your settings are set up correctly. Cool. So moving on to customer service. So one of the things that I mentioned earlier is that Google is still going to be responsible for those automated order processing emails. So that thank you for your order or the order has been delivered emails. But the thing that your team is now responsible for is managing all other inquiries that come from the customers. So the way that they'll receive these inquiries is going to be through that customer service email that you provide during that migration or during your setup. They'll receive it via an email form where they can come in here and say, hey, actually, it'll be exactly like you see here in this situation. But for this, you'll actually respond directly onto the email, and that will get sent over to the customer. As I mentioned before, we are currently working on how we can improve this process and provide even more tools within Merchant Center so you can see all of these customer supports and customer emails in one place. That's something that we're working on. It's not currently available, but in the meantime, you'll have the opportunity to reply directly over email. If you do use a third-party customer service provider, you can absolutely still use them as long as they're able to support activation via email. So another thing to note here is you are responsible for replying within 2 business days. And if you don't reply within 2 business days, that's of course when a customer can open a case here, as you see at the bottom, so that Google can review and provide that support. So I mentioned all of these different things across orders, returns, customer service. And we wanted to create this slide so that you have a visual of what are the most important time and SLAs to keep in mind, just to make sure that you're providing those customers with the support in a timely manner. So For orders and fulfillment, you have 3 days to 3 days to process an order, and if you don't, then that order will be auto-canceled. So just make sure that you go in there and mark that order as shipped, and once it is shipped, and provide that tracking information. And then once you do that, then of course all that information will be sent or shown to the customer. But you have 3 days to do that. And then for returns and refunds, so there's two different things here. So as I mentioned before, when a customer asks for a return or tries to return a product, if you are currently using merchant managed returns, you'll get notified that the customer is wanting to return a product. You then have 2 days to provide them with a return label. And if you don't provide them with the return label, then they can we can automatically step in and help provide them with that solution. But make sure your team is aware of that 2 days for that return label. The other part of returns is, of course, the refund. So once that customer receives the return label, they ship the product and it arrives at your facilities, you then have 2 days to offer a refund from the day that it arrives at your facility. So again, remember, 2 days to upload a return label and then 2 days to offer a refund. However, if you choose to do Google facilitated returns, as I mentioned in the previous slide, Google will automatically upload that return label, so that's not something you have to worry about. You only have to worry about that 2 days of giving them the refund after it's arrived at your facility. And then lastly, customer service, 2 days to respond to those customers via that email, via the email support. And if you do not reply within 2 days, then the refund will be charged to your account. That's where Google will step in and provide that refund. So going into best practices. And these are some of the questions we'll be addressing there with best practices. So how do you optimize product data? How do you maximize Google performance? How do we increase exposure, create better campaigns? Here in Buy on Google, it's not actually campaigns that you're creating, but we'll show you how to optimize your settings so that you are able to increase exposure, visibility, performance. And then also questions around promotions and just price competitiveness. So these are the ones we will be discussing next. So at a very high level, these are the main levers that you'll want to familiarize yourself with for creating, for optimizing your performance on Buy on Google. So we have assortment, pricing, shipping and delivery, promotions, and of course, just product richness or product page richness. So I'll go into some of these in depth, and then we'll kind of discuss more moving forward. So for assortment, the thing to note here is really just making sure that you opt in your entire eligible catalog onto Buy on Google. So one of the levers, or one of the things that I'll mention here in a bit, is how to unblock your assortment. So making sure that your products are actually active and not disapproved. We'll go into that in further detail, but I'll leave that for now. And then the other lever is pricing. So ensuring that you have, ensuring that your pricing is optimized to be competitive, and you can be able to understand how your products are within the buy box or how they compare against other merchants. We also have some betas that we'll offer up for you guys to sign up for that we'll be launching here shortly. And then shipping is also another one of those levers that, as I mentioned before, this is actually one of the most easiest ways that you can optimize your account. I've helped many merchants just try to understand, hey, how can we improve this performance? And shipping is always a thing that we're able to. Shipping is one of those things where people are usually not aware that their settings are not set up the best. And so we'll kind of give you some of those best practices for how to understand how shipping works here in Buy on Google. And lastly, like promotions is another one of those important levers. If you haven't opted into promotions, you can sign up here. One thing I should probably have noted in the very beginning of this presentation is all of this information will be sent out to you. We'll also provide a guidebook where you'll be able to, of course, like click into these links. But promotions is, of course, another one of those levers. And then, of course, providing high quality information. And that includes images, description text, and making sure that your products are represented correctly. And speaking on that note of making sure your products are represented correctly, one of the things that I've heard from many merchants is how do I see what my products look like online? And that's a great question. And currently our team is actually building out some direct links within Merchant Center, so you can click on them and see what the product looks like. In the meantime, this path that you'll see here on the slide is a way that you can actually see what your products look like online on your store. So you'll put in the code, and then after that =, you'll put in your MCID. Don't include the brackets, just add your MCID directly after there. But the reason why this is so important is really just understanding how you appear and just making sure that your setup is correct. So in this case, making sure that your delivery, the cost of your shipping is accurate, that the cost of your product is accurate, that the speed in which you can provide that product is accurate, and of course that your images and your description and all of that stuff reflects correctly. As I mentioned in that previous slide, for products, one of the most important things in making sure that your entire catalog is online is ensuring that your products are not currently disapproved by some type of issue within the feed. So if you haven't explored this page before in the past, this is called the diagnostics report. You'd go here on the left-hand side under products to diagnostics. And within here, you can see exactly, it'll show you the reasons why the item level issues, feed level issues, account level issues. In this case, we'd be interested in the item level issues for your shopping actions account, or sorry, your buy on Google account. So if you are, when you do reach this diagnostics tab, one thing to keep in mind is to make sure that you filter here on the blue link for, it says shopping actions. Soon it will be changed to buy on Google, but you'll filter that and ensure that you're looking at the buy on Google information, not shopping ads, because it varies and it differs. So just make sure you filter for shopping action, and then here you'll be able to see the exact reasons for why products might not be online. If you see these issues here, hover over that little question mark, and you'll find the Learn More button, where you'll actually be led to a Help Center article that goes into detail about how you can fix that issue. So this is an easy way just to make sure that you're able to show all your products, and especially some of those bestseller products or some of those basket building products that are important to you. Oh, and one other reminder that I wanted to mention is a supplemental feed is actually a really great option here if you did need to make any additional changes that you didn't want to make directly in your primary feed. Okay, so now we'll move on to competitive pricing. So there's a couple of tools that you can actually utilize currently within Google where you can see how your pricing, where your pricing falls into play competitively. But there's actually two new betas that we are offering. One is called the Pricing Rules beta, and the other is separate pricing from buy on Google and shopping ads. So for the Pricing Rules data, this allows you to set your own automated pricing rules, including buy box winning rules, sales volume, lowest price rule, smart product discounting rule, and an inventory account rule. So essentially what you're able to do is determine whatever the goal is that you're trying to achieve for your business, and allow Google to automatically adjust that pricing to meet that business goal. And then for separate pricing on buy on Google, this is simply allows you to be able to offer a separate price from your shopping ads using an attribute. So if you try using this attribute right now, it's not going to work unless you opt in for the beta. And so if you are interested, we'll share that form to opt into these betas here. And of course, eventually this will be open and live for everyone, but right now it's in that beta stage. Another note that I wanted to mention on pricing is that with this new 0% commission, I know historically I've worked with some merchants who needed to increase their prices in order to cover the cost of that historical commission. Well, now with 0% commission, make sure you keep that in mind. If your business does have that leeway to be able to offer more competitive pricing, I think it goes without saying that as a customer shopping online, we all are just interested in what is the lowest price, what is the fastest shipping, what is the cheapest shipping, and so just make sure that you understand where your products fall in line with the competition. And so make sure you keep that 0% commission in line with how you offer your pricing strategy. Next, we'll move on to the shipping and handling best practices. And as I mentioned before, this is one of the most common levers that I've worked with merchants, where this is where you really can adjust and optimize how your products are. And the overall goal is just to ensure that your shipping setup accurately reflects your capabilities. So it reflects your best price and it reflects your best speed. Those are the two things I'm really referring to. As we know, in this world of online shopping, we are all guilty of wanting the products that offer the free shipping or offer shipping. Let's say it's shipping for when you spend over $25 or something that's actually reasonable for you as a customer. So if you have that ability to offer free shipping, this is of course going to be one of the easiest things to be able, I shouldn't say easy, but this of course is going to be one of those things that really does play a big role for how customers shop online. Again, keep in mind that 0% commission. If in the past you needed to increase the cost of your shipping to be able to cover that margin, this is something now that you have that additional leeway in to be able to provide if it's possible for your business. And then the other thing here is understanding the estimated delivery date. So for estimated delivery date, I often find that people don't really understand how that date is being projected to the customer at the end. So what the estimated delivery date is it's that arrive by date where customers see in the checkout page, and it's calculated by the maximum handling time and the maximum transit time. So when you're in your shipping settings and you're setting these shipping and handling times or these handling and transit times, make sure you keep in mind that range that you set, that Google is actually going to use that maximum number. So again, this is why it's important to see what your products look like online to understand if it's being communicated accurately, if your ship settings are being communicated accurately. Obviously, it goes without saying that a faster shipping and handling time is going to lead to higher conversions for these customers. Obviously, we want to make sure that you balance that with what is actually possible for your business, what your business is capable of. But making sure that you are as accurate as possible with those times. So avoid adding too much buffer. We find that people, that some merchants just add a wide range because they want to be on the safe side, but it's really important that you try to make that as accurate as possible. And some of the ways that you can do that is like consider setting up delivery zones. So for example, if your business is based on the East Coast, you can set up delivery zones for those surrounding areas and say that, oh, I can actually deliver to you within 1 to 2 days rather than this 2 to 8 day range that you might have had set up. So that's one thing that you can do to optimize that shipping time period. The other thing is just making sure that you have the correct carrier cutoff times. So consult your carrier, ensure that you understand what those cutoff times actually are so that you're not adding an additional business day to that time range. And then also just understanding how to monitor that performance and adjust that shipping and handling accordingly. I will note that I do understand that in the past it has been difficult to set up the shipping and handling speed, and our team is currently working on how to create a better, easier, user-friendly setup in the interface, so that is something that's also coming soon. And then once you kind of go through all of these different slides and go understand the different levers that you can pull, this is just a checklist just to make sure that you are setting your account up for success, that you prepare your team for order management, and you understand like some different opportunities to grow your business. So we've discussed all of these now. So understanding how your product is represented, making sure that your products are active and that your item issues are resolved, ensuring that your setup reflects your best shipping and price capabilities. For order management, it's making sure that you have a plan for how you will manage those orders and returns, reviewing customer service, understanding those SLA times, opting in for those order return notifications, reviewing how to manage orders and returns within Merchant Center. And then finally, understanding and familiarizing yourself with the program fully. So reviewing the retail standards so that you're able to monitor your performance, and then also that you're fully aware of those policies. So I don't expect you to remember all of this. So again, all of this is going to be provided in that guidebook that we share right after. So next steps. So I've alluded to this guidebook that we will be providing you guys, and this is something that we are really excited about. We've heard time and time again that it's just really difficult to digest all of the information in the Help Center because there's just so much information. So our team has created a quick start guide to consolidating all of these best practices for getting started, from ensuring that you're set up correctly, for understanding order management and returns, and then also for optimizing your performance. So highly recommend that you check this out, share it with your team. This is going to be something that we continue to evolve as we have more and more improvements and adjustments into the product. The other thing to note is that we will be creating another one of these webinars next month. Our next one is on November the 11th, and this is going to be focused on the holiday preparedness. As I mentioned, this webinar that you're currently in is our first one since all of the new program changes, and so we want to make sure that we're able to provide you with a tool for education, a tool for understanding the program a little bit better. So. And thank you for attending today, and I hope that this answered your questions and provided some more insight into our product. And then our next webinar that we'll have next month will really go into those details on how do you make sure that you're optimized for the holiday season around pricing, shipping, promotions, and some of those levers to make sure that you're familiar with. Also, I alluded to some of those betas that we currently have available. So those are the pricing rules beta and separating the pricing and shipping cost rule as well. So we will, Gonzalo will actually be sharing those links here to these pilots within the chat, and then we'll also provide that in the next steps email so that you can opt in for those as well. And one more thing that I wanted to mention that I hadn't already was just making sure that you're opted in for notification alerts. So this is aside from the orders and returns notifications. What I'm referring to here is just make sure that in your settings, you're opted in to receive the different settings for betas and for opportunities. Our team is constantly running beta tests and beta pilots, and we would love to have more and more merchants participate in these betas, but we're restricted to the settings that you have set there. So if you are interested in beta testing, please make sure you have that lever toggled over so that we can be able to engage with you in the coming months on any additional new beta that we have. And then finally, share your feedback. This is a new forum that we're creating to really just try to figure out how we can help provide additional channels to be able to meet with you, the merchant, and be able to provide you with the best tips and suggestions. So Gonzalo is going to share a feedback link on the webinar just to see, so we can understand how useful this was and what we can do going forward. So in the future, we want to be able to make this a great platform for you. So please share your feedback on what you'd like to see, maybe additional topics you'd like us to talk about, and just how we can make this a valuable tool. And that is it. So thank you again for your time, for joining us today. I actually think we're going to be able to give you about 15 minutes back to your day. But if you do have any additional questions, and this is the link to our support team. We'll also provide a link there in our follow-up email. But if you are interested in, if you do have any additional recommendations for us, please share that within the feedback form. And yeah, thank you again for taking the time in our home studios. I'm glad to meet you from afar, or not from afar. I'm glad to meet you, and we are excited to host you in the future. So thank you. Bye.